Hello, everyone. We're back for another Bible study. All right, have you ever done something, made a decision, made a course of action in your life, and after doing it, after like putting money and time and effort into it, did you feel like you were doing the wrong thing, or did God start sending you signals and signs that you were doing the wrong thing? Well, we're going to talk about a king, King Amaziah of Judah, who was faced with the same type of situation. And we'll see how God uh, uh, communicated with him and how he reacted to the will of God. Okay, so chapter 25, we're on Second Chronicles. Amaziah was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother was Je- Jehoadine from Jerusalem. Amaziah did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, but not wholeheartedly. When Amaziah was well established as king, he executed the men who had assassinated his father. However, he did not kill the children of the assassins, for he obeyed the command of the Lord written in the book of the law of Moses. Parents must not be put to death for the sins of their children, nor the children for the sins of their parents. Those worthy of death must be executed for their own crimes. Another thing Amaziah did was to organize the army, assigning leaders to each clan from Judah and Benjamin. Then he took a census and found that he had an army of 300,000 men, years old and older, all trained in the use of spear and shield. He also paid about 7,500 pounds of silver to hire 100,000 experienced fighting men from Israel. All right, so you took a census. All right, but it says, verse 7, a man of God came to the king and said, O king, do not hire troops from Israel, for the Lord is not with Israel. If he will not help those people of Ephraim. If you let them go with your troops into battle, you will be defeated no matter how well you fight. God will overthrow you, for he has the power to help or to frustrate. Verse 9, Amaziah asked the man of God, but what should I do about the silver I paid to hire the army of Israel? The man of God replied, the Lord is able to give you much more than this. So Amaziah discharged the hired troops and sent them back to Ephraim. This made them angry with Judah, and they returned home in a great rage. Then Amaziah summoned his courage and led his army to the valley of Salt, where they killed 10,000 Edomite troops from Seir. They captured another 10,000 and took them to the top of a cliff and threw them off, dashing them to pieces on the rocks below. Meanwhile, the hired troops that Amaziah had sent home raided several of the towns of Judah between Samaria and Bethlehem, killing 3,000 people and carrying off great quantities of plunder. When King Amaziah returned from defeating the Edomites, he brought with him idols taken from the people of Seir. He set them up as his own gods, bowed down in front of them, and presented sacrifices to them. This made the Lord very angry, and he sent a prophet to ask, why have you worshipped gods who could not even save their own people from you? But the king interrupted him and said, since when have I asked your advice? Be quiet now before I have you killed. So the prophet left with this warning, I know that God has determined to destroy you because you have done this and have not accepted my counsel. But after consulting with his advisers, King Amaziah of Judah sent this challenge to Israel's king Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz and grandson of Jehu. Come and meet me in battle. But King Jehoash of Israel replied to King Amaziah of Judah with this story. Out in the Lebanon mountains, a thistle sent a message to a mighty cedar tree. Give me your daughter in marriage to my son. But just then a wild animal came by and stepped on the thistle, crushing it. You may be very proud of your conquest of Edom, but my advice is to stay home. Why stir up trouble that will bring disaster on you and your people of Judah? But Amaziah would not listen, for God was arranging to destroy him for worshiping the gods of Edom. So King Jehoash of Israel mobilized his army against King Amaziah of Judah. The two armies drew up their battle lines at Beth Shemesh in Judah. Judah was routed by the army of Israel, and its army scattered and fled for home. King Jehoash of Israel captured King Amaziah of Judah at Beth Shemesh and brought him back to Jerusalem. Then Jehoash ordered his army to demolish 600 feet of Jerusalem's wall, from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate. He carried off all the gold and silver and all the utensils from the temple of God that had been in the care of Obed Edom. He also seized the treasures of the royal palace, along with hostages, and then returned to Samaria. Judah lived on for 15 years after the death of King Jehoash of Israel. The rest of the events of Amaziah's reign, from the beginning to end, are recorded in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. After Amaziah turned away from the Lord, there was a conspiracy against his life in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But his enemies sent assassins after him, and they killed him there. They brought him back to Jerusalem on a horse, and he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. All right, so I asked in the beginning, have you ever had a situation in your life where you um, you're following a course of action and you're spending time and money and effort into it, and then you start to doubt whether or not that's the right path, and then maybe perhaps you even get these what you think are or know are signs from God that you're not supposed to be in that path, and yet you're reluctant to want to turn. I would say look to chapter 7 of 20 of this chapter. Look to verse 7 of this chapter 25. Because it says, But a man from God came to the king and said, O king, do not hire troops from Israel, for the Lord is not with Israel. He will not help those people of Ephraim. If you let them go with your troops into battle, you will be defeated no matter how well you fight. God will overthrow you, for he has the power to help or to frustrate. So this says, that God can help us or he can frustrate our plans. And it's based on whether or not our plans are aligned or if that's the right one. But you've spent all this time and years and all this money and all this effort, and your heart is all welled up into this relationship. Or maybe it's a project that you started, and the same thing. You've got all this time, money, and effort, and your heart and soul is put into this, but it turns out this is not what God wanted. So what do you do? Well, it says in verse 9, Amaziah asked the man of God, But what shall I do about the silver I paid to hire this army of Israel? And then the man of God replies, The Lord is able to give you much more than this. So, if you're dealing with a relationship or a project that you have put a lot of money and effort and time into, you know what? God can give you more than that. Um, so let's say you spend a bunch of money just doing whatever. I don't know. I'm not good at coming up with examples, but you've put in a bunch of money into a project, and God says, "Give it up. Just give it up." And He keeps giving you this, this feeling or these signs that just give it up. You know what? It's just money, um, and God can restore that money to you. But if you continue on, then you could end up like this King Amaziah and just disobeying. Basically, he luckily he obeyed God's advice in that moment, but then he goes and he has success, and this is another thing to look out for in life is prosperity. This King Amaziah goes and finds victory by killing all these Edomites, and then he next thing he does is take their gods and start worshiping them. So doesn't make any sense why you would worship the gods of a nation you just defeated, and it even says that in this chapter when another man of God approaches him. So prosperity can get into our minds and warp our thoughts and influence our actions. So be careful about prosperity. Blessed are the meek, blessed are the weak, blessed are the poor. These are the things that the Bible says, and it's because of pride, arrogance, and basically greed. The more prosperous you get, the more proud you get, the more the Bible says that wealth to the rich is a fortified city. You start relying on your wealth and thinking that's all you need. You don't need God anymore. So watch out. All right. So on verse 15, it says, um, it made God very angry once Amaziah took the gods from the Edomites and started worshiping them. And we kind of went over that already. So I will move on. And it says in verse 20, but Amaziah would not listen to this warning that God gave, because God was arranging to destroy him for worshiping the gods of Edom. Oh my gosh. People, don't fall into this trap of worshiping false gods, especially if you are a Christian. If you already know God, don't fall into idolatry. And idolatry can come in many forms, and right, not just worshiping other gods. It could be worshiping yourself. It could be worshiping an organization you're a part of, or I don't know, objects, of your desire, whether that's uh, men, women, um, cars, baseball card collection. I don't know, whatever it is. You know, be careful of having idols in your life. Okay, so that's all I really took note of in here. We got a lot of comments from different people. Hi, Tone France. Maybe, hello, maybe a random guy. Hello, that's it. That's just, you guys keep, okay. All right, guys, so I just pray for blessings upon you all right now. If you are watching, you don't know God, ask God to come into your life. All you got to do is speak it. God can hear you. He is all knowing, He's all present, all powerful. So if you just speak to Him right now, He will hear you and He will respond. And when you ask, God to come into your life, be ready. Be ready, because He will. And you may want to, before you do that, you may want to live a pure life, or before or after, you may want to really purify yourself the best you possibly can, and use that as a sacrifice to God. God really appreciates when we worship Him. One way we worship Him is through sacrifice. And, it could be simple as treating people well. You're going to go out of your way to treat people well. Or you're going to go out of your way to maybe, I don't know, study the Bible or help somebody in some way. Or simply refrain from doing what you know is sin against God. These are all forms, fasting. Those are all forms of worship, even singing. Um, so, yes, if you want God to be in your life, just ask Him and make the effort, right? Make the effort and He will come. Seek and you will find. And if anyone is struggling financially out here or in relationships or with their health, pray and ask God for peace and guidance and help in those situations. Don't be afraid to ask, even if you're not if you're on the fence about whether you believe in God or not. Just pray and ask. Have faith. I was talking to a friend recently who doesn't believe in God, or refuses to believe in God. Essentially, thinks that evolution is the answer. Hey, I was there once. I used to think that maybe evolution was the answer. Um, and then someone talked me out of that. So then I started looking at other faiths and stuff. Heck, I even read this the book of the Scientology when I was like 15 or something like that. I was literally searching for the answer that young in life. Um, but uh, but yeah, I was talking to her, and she mentioned that she didn't believe in God, and because she's like, well, because different people in all different faiths, they have seen things, right? Because I was telling her that I had to see like something physical, see something miraculous before I could fully believe in God, because I'm a see to believe kind of person. Even though my eyes are very sensitive to light, and I can't even look at my phone without them burning, so I have to wear my shades, prescription shades. I'm a see to believe kind of person. Uh, so the answer to her was really about faith. And anyone else who thinks like this, it's about faith, right? Yeah, okay. So there are people in every religion who say they have seen gods, or they've seen their God, right? But have you seen, right? Have you seen, if you are the kind that needs to see, and you're on the fence about which religion to pick because, every one of them has people that says they've seen their God, well then pick one that you resonate with the most and just go at it. Go at it in all faith and boldly just go in and see if you see, if you get if you get the miraculous sign that you were asking for. Because I can guarantee, almost guarantee, that either you won't get it with these other faiths, or you'll get it, but it'll be something demonic, and it'll be from a demon. Um, but if you do it with God, you will receive not only your sign, but you will receive a blessing with it. And yeah, so I firmly believe that, and that's the answer I would have to anybody who says they're on the fence. Well, then experiment, test it. The only reason that I became a Christian was because I was desperate. I was desperate for the truth, and I had searched I'd already searched other faiths and other thoughts. And evolution is such a faith, because how do you believe in that? How do you believe in science as the answer to why we're here, when the whole premise of everything in science is the Big Bang theory, which is everything was created by nothing randomly and for no reason. And it's just like that, and that makes more sense than believing in an all-powerful God. Okay, okay, if that's how you feel, but it's not going to protect you when the time comes, right? When the time comes to pass. In fact, my aunt just died yesterday, so now I got to plan to go to that funeral. Um, Death can come comfort us at any moment, guys, and don't be left out in the cold. So, all right, I've talked long enough. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you next time.